Back in the day, bank robberies were daring feats requiring guts of steel, intricate plans, and the nerve to risk it all. But now with the rise of cybercrime, heists happen with a few clicks, and the stakes have never been higher. Imagine stealing $55 million from New York ATMs, all from the comfort of your computer chair. That's exactly what our protagonist did, living a lavish lifestyle funded by virtual heists. Curious to know who this modern-day Robin Hood is and how his story unfolds? Buckle up for a thrilling ride as we delve into his daring exploits and their ultimate consequences. Our tale begins with a young Turkish man named Ercan Findikoglu. To understand how he transformed from a peaceful individual into a dangerous hacker, we must delve into his life from the beginning and understand the hardships he endured since childhood. Ercan was born in the city of Kastamonu, Turkey, near the capital Ankara, in 1981. From the moment he was born, Ercan faced a difficult life of poverty and hardship. His childhood, particularly with his mother, was sorrowful. She suffered from a chronic illness and couldn't always take care of him. On the other hand, his father was extremely aggressive, often engaging in fights over trivial matters. Despite this, Ercan attended school, always trying to distance himself from the family's environment as much as possible. Though he couldn't fully escape it, due to ongoing troubles, he eventually dropped out of school and sought employment. Although young, around 14, Ercan had a passion for computers. He adored everything about them. Design software, games, it didn't matter as long as he could sit in front of a computer and learn new things. The internet cafe became his sanctuary, where he could earn money, pursue his interests, and escape his father's tyranny. Working at the cafe allowed him enough time to learn new computer skills, which eventually became his expertise, changing his life over time. In 2001, when Ercan turned 20, he joined mandatory military service. Recognizing his talent in computer-related tasks, his supervisor assigned him to computer work, which he continued throughout his service. This experience further fueled his passion and expertise in the field. After completing his service, he returned to his bleak family home and his old life in the city. During his military service, Ercan always dreamed of getting married, starting a family, finding a stable job, and living a somewhat decent life. However, reality was far from his dreams. Despite his efforts to find employment after his discharge, he faced rejection everywhere due to his lack of qualifications. Despite his work at the internet cafe, it wasn't enough to secure him a job. After 4 years of trying, in 2005, some friends advised him to travel to Bodrum and search for work there. He had friends in Bodrum who could accommodate him until he found a job and settled. Bodrum, a picturesque tourist city, seemed promising. Ercan traveled to Bodrum and immediately began searching for employment. After a long search, he found a job at a bar. With his job secured, he needed a place to live to avoid burdening his friends further. He rented a modest, small apartment and worked tirelessly day and night to save money and build his future. Unfortunately, his meager salary barely covered his expenses. After a while, Ercan saved enough money from his bar job to buy a laptop. Whenever he returned from work, he spent hours on the laptop, learning additional skills and gaining more experience. His military aided him in his pursuits. Due to the nature of his workplace, Ercan learned more than one language. Although he didn't master them fully, he could manage in several languages. His proficiency in Russian grew due to the frequent Russian clientele at the bar. This routine continued until 2006, when Ercan became proficient in Russian and gained expertise in computer-related tasks. This was the turning point in his life and where his wild story started. During this time, by chance, Ercan came across a Russian hacking group, and his acquired computer skills made him stand out. This group wasn't your average hacking group. They were highly skilled. Soon, Ercan began working with them every day after his regular job, learning the ins and outs of cyber theft. Their specialty, bank heists, they targeted specific websites, gaining access to bank information or individuals' credit card details, hacking into their accounts and stealing money. As Ercan's expertise grew, and as he became more involved with the group, he became one of its key members. Once he reached this stage, it was the perfect time to learn how to profit from illegal activities. His first successful hack occurred in October of the same year. He managed to obtain bank account information from an American man and stole $500 from his card. Naturally, Ercan was surprised by the outcome. $500 was a significant amount, and the operation itself didn't take long. The sum he stole was more than his monthly salary. This revelation astounded him, showing him how easily money could be obtained. He decided to delve deeper into the world of hacking and cyber theft. While still working at the bar during the day, every evening upon returning home, he would open his laptop and collaborate with the Russian group. He used aliases like Predator or Seagate. With frequent practice, he reached a point where he was ready to leave his job at the bar and become the Turkish hacker, who would soon make headlines. As Ercan became an expert in hacking and cyber theft operations, he somewhat distanced himself from the Russian group and became the mastermind behind many operations. He formed his own group, comprised of hackers from around the world. He spent significant time studying bank, security systems, and identifying potential vulnerabilities. He discovered that some credit card processing companies had direct connections to banks, holding customer and card numbers. Between 2010 and 2013, Ercan collected information and learned to breach these companies. Some of the successful breaches included FIS, ICS, and Mr. Card, companies specializing in prepaid card processing. We'll discuss the outrageous method he used to breach these companies later. At that time, stories of hacking and cybercrime weren't as prevalent. Nowadays, people are more aware of hackers' tricks and take precautions. But back then, such stories were rare, especially those involving the techniques used by this group. Even today, many people could fall victim to a similar hacking attempt, receiving a file via email that, when opened, compromises their computer or mobile device. Hacking techniques have become more diverse and sophisticated over time. The operation Ercan and his friends executed began with the point at which the employee opened the file. Afterward, the computer was hacked without anyone's knowledge. Spyware systems were implanted, and information was stolen, giving them complete control over the databases containing card numbers and associated data. They could even manipulate the systems responsible for processing card data, altering card limits. Once they had all this information, they devised a plan to withdraw money from the cards without raising suspicion. Their method involved obtaining new card information before the cards were even issued to their owners. After Ercan and his hacker friends acquired all the credit card information stored in these companies directly, they copied and sent it to trusted individuals. These individuals had been collaborating with them since 2010 on hacking forums. They were located in different countries worldwide, tasked with printing these cards using card printing machines and then withdrawing funds from them using ATMs in their respective countries. Literally, they attempted to drain all the money until the cards were completely empty. During this period, Ercan had full access to the information of the companies that were breached. During this time, he monitored all the withdrawals made using these cards through the company's systems as if he were the manager of these companies. This was a disaster for these companies, and the strange thing is that these companies did not notice these strange operations for a period of time. Among the victims was JP Morgan Bank, a staggering blow in itself. But what truly tugged at the heartstrings was the revelation that some of these cards belonged to the Red Cross, those sacred vessels of humanitarian aid meant to alleviate suffering around the globe. With each passing day, Ercan's audacity grew, daring to push the limits further by increasing withdrawal thresholds and transferred money to the cards at his discretion. What enabled him to control these things was that he had completely hacked into the company's systems. After the money was withdrawn from the ATMs, the gang responsible for the withdrawal process would take their share of the operations, and Ercan's share would be sent to him through electronic transfer services, Western Union, and others. The first of these theft operations was at the beginning of 2011. They executed over 15,000 withdrawal operations in the United States alone. They withdrew over $10 million from cards associated with FIS, and it is estimated that some of these cards belonged to the American Red Cross. In 2012, Ercan's ambitions soared even higher as he and his cohorts breached ICS, raking in $5 million through thousands of withdrawals spanning multiple continents. Their insatiable appetite for ill-gotten gains knew no bounds, as they struck again in 2013, targeting prepaid cards affiliated with major banks worldwide. During a fateful two-day span in February, over 36,000 withdrawals were executed, yielding a mind-boggling $40 million windfall. The targets? ATMs across the globe, with New York City bearing the brunt of the onslaught. It was a spree of theft so brazen, so audacious, that it defied belief. The images you see were captured from one of the ATMs while one of the thieves was withdrawing money. However, his identity could not be identified because, like the others, he appeared masked, fully covering his face and wearing glasses. After these 3 operations we discussed, Ercan embarked on a spending spree of epic proportions. From lavish homes in Istanbul's most exclusive neighborhoods to yachts and a menagerie of luxury vehicles, he lived every whim and fancy. Yet, amidst his opulent lifestyle, he kept hidden stashes of cash, a secret cache of ill-gotten gains tucked away for a rainy day. Imagine one day, Ercan and a group of his friends decided to take a sea trip to Romania. The first thing he prepared was a bag full of money, containing over $100,000. He thought he could enjoy himself during this trip. Ercan was sad about the days of poverty he experienced in his childhood. So he compensated for all those difficult days in his life during these days. Literally, he made a blanket out of the money he collected from fraud operations and covered himself with it. But little did he know that these dreams would turn into nightmares one day. America began to investigate the matter, and the FBI intensified its investigation into the case. After extensive research, they identified 8 individuals who were part of the group responsible for withdrawing cash from ATMs in New York. These 8 individuals managed to withdraw over $3 million in New York alone. But the most important of them is Jose Familia Reyes, whose photos you see taken from one of the ATMs he used to withdraw money from. After his arrest and the search of his mobile phone, they found these photos. Imagine that one of these 8 individuals who were arrested placed $15,000 in a bank in Miami on behalf of another member of the gang. These guys were clearly aiming to live richly by any means. After they were arrested, each of them was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison and fined $25,000. Not only were Jose and his friends arrested, but many other people participated in executing these operations or attempted to money launder the stolen money from these operations. Then, the newspapers started talking about this case, and the judicial ruling was issued against them. At that time, Ercan was in Turkey and knew that the situation had become very dangerous. So he sent a message to all team members to erase all the information and evidence that could link them to the theft operations, especially the bank card numbers and hacking programs they used. At that time, the FBI obtained information about Ercan from the individuals they arrested. But Ercan had no knowledge of anything. As we know, most thieves, regardless of the method they use to steal, after executing their operation and succeeding in their plan, think it's impossible to be caught and become greedy for more, and indeed this is what happened to Ercan. One day in December 2013, for some reason, Ercan decided to travel to Germany. He thought he had left no trace of his hacking operations, but he didn't know he was a suspect, and that the FBI had reached him and was investigating him, receiving information about him. They even started wiretapping his calls with his mother and acquaintances in Turkey. On December 19, 2013, Germany received a request from American authority to arrest Ercan. So, the German authorities arrested Ercan at a hotel near Frankfurt Airport. At the time of his arrest, he had $14,000 in cash, a Rolex watch, a high-end mobile phone, and a forged driver's license. After his laptop was examined, they found information about millions of bank accounts. After his arrest, he had no way to escape to, and everything was clear. He always photographed the money he collected from fraud operations and filmed videos in the places he traveled to, posting them on the internet. He even used to send money foolishly to his acquaintances, relatives, and friends. And even the Turkish government began to suspect him because of his sudden wealth. 8 days after his arrest, Germany decided to extradite him to America at its request. But Ercan tried not to by filing a request with a European court through a prominent lawyer not to extradite him to America because of human rights violations. Ercan claimed that after America arrested him, he would be subjected to torture and would be imprisoned for at least 250 years. And of course, this is contrary to human rights. But after months of investigations, the court decided against his request, and there was no convincing reason to prevent his extradition to America. The sentence wouldn't be as severe as he claimed, especially if he reached an agreement with the U.S. government and confessed to his actions. In 2015, he was extradited to America to stand trial there. 2 years later, he confessed to the theft operations he had carried out. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison and fined $55 million because he was the mastermind behind these operations. The scenes you see were filmed during the arrests of individuals involved in hacking, money laundering, and other activities. These individuals were his relatives, friends, or anyone who helped him carry out these operations within Turkey. After the arrest of all those involved, a large number of bank cards and computers used during their communication were seized, along with large sums of money in different currencies. And here we have reached the end of our story today. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can watch this video here until the next one, and for now, ciao.